All right, here we go. Good morning, y'all. This is Coffee and Chat with Rev Bruce. I'm back once again, and I definitely want to give y'all a good morning, a howdy do, or what's up. And so, you know what? This is a Saturday, and things are going all right. But I know somebody knows, things could be a whole lot better for them. But we're gonna take it in stride today. You know, we're gonna take it in stride, and we're gonna take it the way it goes, and we're gonna take it for all those that have come before us, all those ancestors, all those that have lived and struggled and set the pathway. Today we say Ashe. And so it is what it is. It is to be done, and that it is to be done rightly. And so we pay homage to those that have come before us. And so today we're doing something, talking with Sister Ms. Sharifah about this whole thing with battling cancer. And to go along with that, she's got some stuff to share with us, and I know that you'll be impressed with her and what she has to share. But definitely tune in and keep tuned in. And I also want to let you know there's Black Men Run Sneaker Drive. It started last week. It's still going on this week. You can still drop off those sneakers in North Park at Milestone Run Store. I'm going to be there after this and dropping my stuff off. Got those sneakers that are gently used that, I should have been using, but guess what? Somebody else might be able to use them and get something better out of it. And today, I'm in, man, what is this? This is day 6 of this 10-day detox. And God help me, I still got my coffee, but cut back on that white sugar and really getting into it. And so this is what we're going to do, y'all. We are going to be talking to Miss Sharifah, and she's here. A lady who is a dear friend of mine from way back, man. Don't ask her no secrets about me, and she won't tell you no lies, right? The truth is that good old friend, old school, but definitely touching base with her about this thing that she's living with and fighting. And so, listen, let's give it up for Sister Sharifah joining us right now.
Hello.
Hey. How you
Hey,
feeling
hey.
today?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm
All
good.
right. I know the energy levels can be drained and everything, and I don't want to take up your full day, but I definitely want to thank you for coming on here and joining us. And so let's be real. Here you are, young woman. You have this, this pap smear where something just doesn't seem right, you know, and something looks like it's abnormal, and that's 1994.
1994 is when it first started. The journey first started in 1994. I was what, 21, and I had an abnormal Pap smear. And they, hey, you have an abnormal Pap smear. Um, Maybe it's HPV. We don't know. We're gonna go in here. We're gonna see. And then they do a leap procedure, and okay, it's abnormal cells, it's precancers. We're gonna remove it, and that's when the journey first started. And then
Yeah,
in 2005. Yeah, yeah. So, and then, the same procedure, they do a leak procedure again. They say, we got the cancerous cells out, keep getting screened, keep doing pap smears. So I kept doing that. And then 2010, finally, they were like, you're good, you're clear, live a healthy life. And then 2015, once
mm,
again, a couple of abnormal pap smears, and they're like, okay, we're going to go in there and we're going to take everything out, and that should take care of everything. We're going to take it out this time. And, so I was like, okay, you
mm,
know, 2015, I'm in the clear. Let's live my best life. And then 2020, actually 2018, I start noticing, they had took everything out, but I'm still having, bleeding and different things
Mm.
like that. So I'm going to the doctors and something's wrong. And they're like, oh, well, handing me antibiotics. And I'm like, no, that's not what it is. And I'm like, I'm in pain. And I'm, telling them like, and I just keep being persistent. And I had a relative by my side who was also being persistent, like, no, this isn't right. Like, so finally I bled profusely and they were like, oh, okay. So you might be onto something. Something is wrong. So by the
Because
time,
you're bleeding like crazy. You might
yeah,
be on.
I'm bleeding, like, that I'm able to still have children. So finally they tell me, finally they look into it and they're like, yeah, something's wrong. So they find a tennis ball sized tumor
Mm.
on the top part of my vagina, and then that's when I heard the big C word again. And yeah, so they were like, you have vaginal cancer. And at that point, it had metastasized to my inguinal wall, my pelvic wall, and my lymph nodes, which, the lymph nodes is the highway to
Yeah.
everything. So, and then they were like, okay, you're stage 3. And, so let's do chemo, let's do radiation, let's get this real aggressive. And so that's what we did. And that's where we're at. Yeah.
And so the back and forth with that, the kind of ping ponging with that whole, hey, you all clear, live your life, and
Hmm.
then to come back
Hmm.
and say, here it is again, you know, and so for you, with children and family, for you, what were your first thoughts?
Um, well, when it first happened, I don't think I realized the magnitude of it.
Mm-hmm.
By 2005, actually, you know what? I think by 2015, I did. Like 2005, I still didn't know the magnitude because this was my second time around, but I beat it so fast and quick and all they, because they have radiation pills as well. So they give you that and it's quick, like I didn't really have to deal with anything.
Mm-hmm.
So I think by 2005, I realized like this is something like, I need to start taking better care of myself. I need to start living healthier and I need to start being more proactive because, nobody's going to care about my health as much as I do, whether it's a doctor or anybody around me. So
Mm-hmm.
it was 2015 is when it got scary, but I thought I was in the clear because even though I was apprehensive about, having a procedure where they took, some of my parts out, I was like, if that's what it takes to, get past this, then I'll do it. And you kind of when you listen to your medical doctors and they tell you like this is the best option for you, you kind of listen to them and they kind of reassured me like, okay, if you do this, it's almost a 98% chance, it's not going to happen. So do this, surgery. And I asked for a second opinion. But my second opinion, it was kind of hard because it was all in the same network. And they basically told me the same thing. So I was
Mm-hmm.
like, okay, let me trust you, which, that might have been to my demise, but I did. And, I was reassured. But this time, yeah, it really, really got real. Like it really, really got real. Like the chemotherapy and the radiation and the external radiation and it really, really got real this time. So that was a really hard thing. It was really hard to deal with everything, because I don't think people realize the toll that this takes on your body, not just your body, but your mental, your spirit, everything. Like it's really, really hard. It's really, really hard.
Yeah, and at some point within there, you find out you have another condition,
Fibromyalgia.
fibromyalgia, right?
Right. Right.
Which is not a easy road in itself, day by day.
Right, right, right. And I think people tend to forget that because even myself sometimes it's like I'm so busy dealing with the cancer and I'm like, why am I hurting? Why is noise bothering me? Why do I feel like I've been beat up? And I'm like, oh, I got fibromyalgia too. So sometimes I get going so much, so much, and so into this, I'm like, I forget about the fibromyalgia, but it doesn't forget about me. Trust, it
Yeah,
does not.
it'll remind you. It'll
Right,
remind
right,
you.
right, 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 right. Exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah. So I
So
go ahead.
you've got your own cancer journey
Hmm.
and these effects, and so I know at one point you say that you felt that you were alone and cold and fearful and just dealing with this on 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 how to meet it or beat it. You know what I mean?
Right,
You know,
right.
and this whole idea of that. And I know at one point you say that during COVID
Hmm.
you even found it more difficult because the way that the treatments are set up for chemo,
Hmm.
and where you could bring somebody with you and certain items in. Now things have changed. How did that overall COVID-19 impact your recent treatment?
Right. So it was really hard because first of all, when I first got diagnosed, no one could go inside with me. No one could go, to my doctor's appointment. And when you hear that word cancer, everything else after that is like, well, wah, 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 wah. You don't hear anything else. So it's helpful to have someone there, to kind of be like, take the shock away and listen to the information they're giving you and ask the questions for you. But because of COVID, I wasn't allowed that. And also during, as far as chemotherapy, like no one could be there with me. And sometimes I'd be there for 6 hours and I'd be cold and I'd be hungry. But because of COVID, no one could come and company with me with that as well. So it's already, I was already fearful. And there was times where, I mean, whether it was true or not, there were times where I felt like people weren't in my corner. So sometimes COVID caused, more isolation and more of a feeling of loneliness and for me, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and as well, a lot of the procedures, that were urgent because of COVID, and so many people were going through, COVID is the most urgent thing right now. And sometimes that, treatment was delayed because we can't get you in because we're so busy for COVID. So that was also really hard. So, that was one way it affected me. And also there was times, when I would reach out to different support systems that were put in place as far as for traveling or for lodging, and I'd be like, hey, I need some help, or you know like
Mm-hmm.
traveling this far, I'm traveling 90 miles to get external radiation, I'm sorry, internal radiation, and that's a lot, and you have to drive back and forth, and I'm like, I need help, can I stay there for the day, because I have to do that once a week, or sometimes I had to do it 3 times a week. But they're
Yes.
like, no, COVID, we can't offer you that help. So that was kind of hard as well.
So the help that would normally be in place from like a cancer society
Right.
or any
Hope and
local
wellness. Yes.
foundation that may
Right.
work with the hospitals,
Right.
in the midst of them trying to figure it all out,
Hmm.
and they haven't figured it out, you're still stuck.
Right. I still have to deal with what I have to deal with. And there was times, where I would have to drive myself to chemotherapy. But, it is what it is. And I got it done and I got through it. But there's other people, they didn't have that luxury. Some people are elderly and they don't drive anymore,
Mhm.
or they're in so much pain they can't drive anymore. So, it was a really hard thing to deal with during this pandemic.
Yeah, and so you went through that, and you also saw what others went through, and then lo and behold, you have this idea of doing these chemo kits
Right,
for
right.
folks,
Yes.
and so just share a little bit about for you, right? What
Hmm.
was what was that what was your primary reason for organizing these kits and packs for folks?
Okay, so like I said before, I didn't realize because the first few times I dealt with this, I didn't realize how hard it was until it really got um, really serious with me. So, the other times I didn't do chemotherapy or I didn't have to go to do as much radiation. So I did 25 sessions of radiation. And so, that's a long time. And then I did 6 sessions of chemotherapy for 4 to 6 hours. And it's really cold and you have chemicals going through your body and, you get hungry, you get lonely. And and then like I said, when you're in there alone, you feel really isolated. And it's sometimes it's just good to know that someone cares and someone understands what you're going through. So I saw a need and I was like, hey, what can I do? What
Hmm.
can I do to help people out? And I wanted to do it on my own through my own, but I was like, the way my account is set up, I can only do so much. So I got on social media, I got on my social media and at, my Instagram at misssharifah.com and my Facebook, Sharifah. And then I have a couple of Facebook groups, chocolate and chemo. And I told people, hey, this is what I'm trying to do. I need your help. My goal is 100 chemo kits, and I need all these items. I need fuzzy socks, beanies, blah, blah. And people just, they came out and they showed up. You know what I'm saying? Because there's people out there that really care and they really want to do something, but they don't know what to do. They don't have cancer. They don't know that you get cold all the time, or they don't know about cold caps, or they don't know that, they want to give you trail mix, or they want to, but you can't eat that and you can't even eat because smells bother you, you know what I mean? So they don't know that. So I was like, okay. And people showed up and went above and beyond. And I went above my goal and I got to, you know, 3 different hospitals. I got to give them their chemo. I got to give the chemo kits to the patients and it was great. And I want to keep it going. It's something that I really want to keep going because like I said, when you're going through this, people don't understand. Sometimes it's the little things that make you feel so much better. And I think as a patient, I understood. So I appreciate everyone that donated and I want to keep it going, like I said.
Yeah, and I just have to ask, where do you find the strength to do it? You know what I mean?
Well, there's a quote, one of my favorite quotes by Teddy Roosevelt is courage is not having the strength to go on. It's going on when you don't have the strength.
Hmm.
So it's just, when it first happened to me, I was like, okay. I kept it to myself for a little while and I was like, okay. I told my family and at first I was just reserved, like, I'm tired of fighting this, 94, 2005, 2015, like, like, but then, I went into myself and I went, through the 5 stages of grief and I was like, you know what? We got to do this. It's a reason for this, and maybe your higher power is telling you, you have a calling and you have to get through this to show people something. It's something in this that is teaching you. Stop asking why did it happen to me.
Hmm.
Why didn't it happen? Why didn't it happen to someone else? Stop saying, when is it going to get better, and change your perspective. You know what I'm saying? And you do something. So that's where I found the strength.
Amen. I mean that's. I mean, I ain't gonna lie. It's remarkable. Most people are just trying to get through it
Right.
and just trying to live on.
Right,
You
right,
know,
right.
but it. Honestly, it seems like this in itself as an effort is, it's giving you life. You know what I mean? You know what I
Right. And
mean?
that is right, 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 right. That is one thing about the chemo kits. I think that it did help me because when you're not so focused on yourself, there's another quote, and I can't remember who it is, but it says, in helping others, you're always helping yourself.
Mm,
And I forgot who that quote is from. I'm a quote girl, but it helps you not to focus so much on your problem. You know what I mean? Doing
yeah.
the chemo kits and having something to give to other people, giving out like that, it makes it easier to go through it. It does. It really does.
Yeah, and I'll just say, hey, it is it is powerful
Thank
and
you. Thank you.
impactful and inspirational. What you're doing, what you're trying to do, and so from your perspective,
Hmm.
share with us, what you see as the major struggles for those that are undergoing treatment today, along with what you've already stated.
Um, so as far as going through treatment, I think one of the struggles is COVID. Also, I believe that um, one of the struggles is we tend to take medical professionals at their word.
Mm,
We tend to, if they tell us something, we're like, okay, and we just go with it, and we forget to advocate for ourselves. We don't tend to research things out for ourselves, and I think that's a struggle that's kind of a self-inflicted wound, but we need to start doing that. And also, the struggle is, I think, um, I would say that people, I think people don't understand. Um, Let me see. I'm trying to, I don't want to disparage anyone. I don't want to.
yeah,
Not rich, but I don't want any lawsuits. But I think as far as, okay, I'm just gonna say it. Black people, black women.
yeah,
A lot of times when we go to the doctor, they think we're coming in there, we want to get, drugs, or, we want attention, or, we're over exaggerating our pain. And I think that's one of the problems that we face in, as dealing with cancer, because the type of cancer that I have, you know, if you're not on top of it, it spreads really quick. And,
hmm
and if you're listening to a doctor, like, like I said, they were giving me antibiotics, as if I had, vaginosis or a yeast infection, but I have cancer. And what is that going to do for me? And I'm telling you, hey, doc. And they're like, well, well, looking at the research, most of the time is this, so I think that it's difficult, but you have to be an advocate for yourself, and you have to research, and know, and you have to know that, the spirit has given us something into us that says, something's wrong,
yeah,
like, and you have to listen to yourself and your intuition and your spirit and say, I don't care what these doctors are saying, something's not right. And keep going until, until it gets right, until your problem gets addressed. And I think that's one of the problems that we face.
yeah. I would say it generationally. Going in with my mother,
Hmm.
and her visits with the oncologist,
Right.
and the conversations with the oncologist versus the social worker and the folks from the network, and then going on with the nutritionist and the folks that got to deal with the port and the phlebotomy and all the different things.
Right.
And I found that I'm a note taker anyway, but
Hmm.
I found I had to come in with a bigger notepad because I
Right.
said, wait a minute, you just said this,
And the
and
other
and
person.
yeah, and
Hmm.
so are you guys talking? Is this you're in the same network, you're in the same health network, but are you guys talking to each other?
Now just imagine if your mother didn't have you,
Mm-hmm.
because like I said, as a cancer patient, sometimes you're so consumed about from the diagnosis that you have cancer, you don't even listen to certain things because you're just trying to get through it, so just imagine a person or an elderly person that's there, and you can't even hear it, and that you, like you said, you're like, well, this person told me that I can't take vitamin C, and you just told me that it's counterproductive, so
Yeah.
what am I going to do?
Or better yet, the hey, we need you to not eat for 9 hours to do this scan, but we we also I'm gonna have you do chemo the day before, and then you're gonna be sick and weak, and we know you want to put something on your stomach, but we need
Right,
you to not eat for 9 hours.
right, right.
What are we doing here? The
Exactly.
chemo's not killing me. What are we doing here? And so
Right,
it and my mom would try to get me to shut up and all that other stuff, and don't be
right.
disrespectful or anything. But I'm like, no, this is a service,
Exactly. And they're
and they
being paid
need to be able to give us some
right,
answers. And
right,
so that
right,
was where I kind of had to make a turn in helping my mother
right.
because, like, okay, you like the doctor, and that's fine, but I don't have to like the doctor, and he don't have to like me. I need some answers.
Right. And you know what? I liked my primary doctor. I liked my primary doctor, but I told him, You messed up. It's not about me liking you, so and it's not about liking the doctors or, like you said, be respectful, but no, advocate for yourself because certain hospitals you may go to, and, a couple of times, I went to a doctor, and my chemo doctor didn't even know I had had a hysterectomy. And I'm like, wait, sir, hold on. You don't know that cervical cancer preceded this vaginal cancer? Like, how are you going to treat me and you don't even know my medical history, let alone me as a person or, about, cultural differences or anything like that? You don't even know my medical history. So, like I said, you have to go in there and you have to be an advocate for yourself. You have to research for yourself. And I think that's one of the most difficult things, no, and even before you even get diagnosed, you have to, look into things, know your body and know the symptoms of certain diseases, know your family history, and, different stuff like that. Like, I think we need to, especially in our community, we need to take things like this more seriously because, we prostate cancer, colon cancer, breast cancer, fe- you know female cancers, they're running rampant in our community. And, if we don't care about it, who's going to care about it?
Hmm.
So yeah, definitely,
Yeah,
definitely.
and out of all of that being said, what would you say that health professionals need to really take into consideration when it comes to those undergoing cancer treatment in their care? What would be like the top thing that you would say, hey, here's what, from a patient's point of view, that you really need to consider, now that I've been through it and looked at it from another perspective? What do they really need to take into consideration when caring for those undergoing cancer treatment?
I think that what medical professionals need to realize and and maybe put into place is not just treating cancer, because
Mm,
it seems like they're treating cancer. Let's get this cancer, but I think they need to learn to treat the whole patient. Because it's not just about you removing this from my body, because, as you know, with me it came back several times, and you and I'm not a medical expert, but there were some lifestyle choices that I made, whether it was with my diet or my social life or my romantic life or whatever. There was lifestyle choices that were made that may have contributed to what I was going through. So I
hmm
think that they need to treat the whole person, not just the cancer, but, tell people, you need to change your diet. You
hmm
know, you need to, for me, luckily, I was healthy. Besides cancer and fibromyalgia, I was healthy, but I didn't have high blood pressure or heart disease. But there's a lot of people in there that, there was one guy, he had a cancer in his throat, and they were telling him, because it was hard for him to swallow, they said, everything that you eat, take a spoonful of butter with it. And
mm,
as I'm talking to the guy, he tells me he has high cholesterol. And I'm like, oh, you just told this man to everything he eats to eat butter with it. And although he has cancer and he has to take his cancer meds and swallow them, that's going to increase his cholesterol. You know what I'm saying? So you need to talk about those other problems and talk about changing your diet, and also, tell people, emotionally, and offer counseling, and it may be something that is offered, but like I said, COVID changed the game with me, so it was a lot of things that weren't happening. But, don't just rush me in here and talk about, my white blood cells and my platelets and, and things like that. Treat the whole patient, take time and, don't treat every patient like an assembly line, more bedside service. That's what I would tell medical doctors. This is a really, really hard thing to go through. It's times where, I want to give up. I didn't want to do it anymore. You know what I mean? And when I go in there and I'm treated like, a piece of meat on the assembly line, that really does something to your psyche, So I think that, health, they need to treat patients and not just cancer, So that's what advice I would give to the medical professionals. But nurses are great. They tend to be a little more, caring and a little more, but I think that you should treat the whole person, like, treat the.
Yeah. You find a lot of times that the physician,
Hmm.
they might know everything technically, but they don't know what what the person is going through.
Right. And then also the type of treatment that I got is very specialized. So you may have one person in one department, but they don't know anything about the other department. Like I said, I radiation and chemo was telling me to do two different things, and I'm like, really? So I think that it needs to be more of a human factor, you know,
Yeah,
in that instead of just a medicine factor. You
yeah,
know.
kind of like I said on another show, where if it's not health care, just drop care out of it. We can
Right.
live with it being health
Right.
services.
Right.
We,
More.
we, we
Yes.
know what's going down,
That part.
but
Exactly.
when it says care, I'm
Right.
expecting a little bit of not the full TLC,
Right.
but know
No.
that if I'm on the brink of life and death, and I'm at the precipice of that, and you're saying, well, here's what you got, and we need to make a decision now. Um,
Right.
I'm in a whirlwind of trying to figure this out. I'm not even at the emotional state yet. I'm still trying to
Exactly.
get over the shock of what you just said.
Exactly, exactly. And I I told you before, like, I was talking to someone and even they told me, well, I was like, I have cancer, I'm doing this, I'm going through this. And they were like, well, other patients too, and me, I went off, your mom would have really been mad at me because I was like, well, what the, like, don't you ever in your life tell me, I don't, that's something that, so I think they need to maybe have a class or education on empathy. So, empathy and also diversity because different cultures are also different too. Like, take me for, I'm going to be a little more vocal as some other cultures where, they may need their younger or someone else to accompany them. I don't, but there's other races that tend to be more docile and more trusting, but no, I'm coming in here like an angry black woman. And you need to understand that. Like, it's sometimes I'm going to be angry and that's part of my culture. And now I have cancer. So
Yeah,
you really about to get it. Don't play with me.
yeah, yeah. You tell them, Medea ain't nothing. Medea ain't nothing.
I
That's
mean,
made up. That's made up until you ran into a real angry black woman.
right, that part. So, and sometimes I think they don't understand that and they need to be taught. It's not personal, but this is what I'm going
Yeah,
through. So, back up and don't see a person that is angry or just see a person that has cancer and they need some empathy and they need some understanding and you know just treat the whole person. I don't want a foot massage, but I want a little bit of bedside manner. So that's
yeah,
something that I really think they need to work on. And like I said, and not just treat the cancer, because like I said, tell people, maybe you should start juicing, maybe stop eating French fries, you know, different things like that. Like more preventive, and then once you get rid of it, sustainable than just say, we got rid of this, so come back in 3 months and you know we'll see if it's gone, but continue to live your life the same way. No, that's not how it works. Because the definition of insanity is to do the same thing over and over again and expect the same results. So you know,
yeah,
don't tell me that it's okay to eat French fries and tortilla chips and and drink a beer to celebrate. Don't do that. So I
yeah.
think that's you know But other
That,
than
that's
that,
part of where we get the disconnect
right,
of where it goes back to what you were saying when we talk about the entire person, a more holistic approach
right,
to medicine. You know, God, God bless us, but I appreciate that they can read the scans and all that.
right.
Um, but much like I tell my mechanic, how much is that going to cost me? What is this going to do to me?
Hmm.
What does that mean I have to go through? And so that whole idea of understanding that I've got to live through it. And let's be real, cancer treatment is um, cancer treatment is almost archaic, if not barbaric. I'm going to give you what should kill you, and if you live, then I'll work on you some more, and I may have to cut some more off of you.
Hmm.
Let's put this in here that is designed basically to kill you, and if you survive that, then we might be able to work with you some more.
Right. Well, I was on a drug, it was called cisplatin. So I researched the drug and come to find out it was used in war. That's how they end up discovering
Mm-hmm.
my drug, is because they used it, someone used it on another, their enemies, and their enemy, they dropped it on their enemies, and their enemies' skin card coming off and different things like that. And they were like, you know, this is killing stuff. So let's put it inside the body and see what it does.
Yeah, and
Yes.
it's and you have to and you have to look at it. Like you said, your research,
Hmm.
because then you can make an informed decision.
Right. And I don't, and I'm not nothing against doctors, but that's another thing too, because okay, give me your medicine, but also don't denounce or diminish or disparage other methods, because just because I'm using other methods, it doesn't mean I'm going to stop going to the doctor. It doesn't mean, if I take soursop or sea moss, or if I decide to do yoga, if I meditate, doesn't mean I'm not going to go to the doctor. It's just something that is supplementing or in corresponding with what you're doing. You understand what I'm saying? Corresponded. I don't know if I used the right word, but anyway, it's just something that's complementing what you're doing. So don't tell me, well, don't do that. Just come here, because, like you said, they're killing things inside of you, and they're expecting you to get better, and then they're telling you, but no, this is the only thing that works, and that's not all. That's not true. So yeah, exactly, exactly.
Yeah, and so in hindsight, for me, in um, dealing with my mother and her cancer battle, I found that there are pockets of care that
Hmm.
um, that are real endearing. When that are the people the people mean well, and they care not only about the patient but also as you as a caregiver.
Right.
I give a lot of credit to my mom's uh, when she was in hospice with a Preva. They were excellent, and they had aftercare for
Right.
even after my mother had passed. I
Right.
give a lot of credit to the social workers that were in the hospital most of the time, that were in the hospital, but also the networks outside of the hospital that worked with the hospitals that walked us through and took us through those things. And so here you are establishing, yourself in providing support for others. Share with us about this event you have, beyond the dream. This vision board event that you have coming up.
Right. So last year, before my diagnosis, I wanted to do, you know, um go in the community, and for women that in just have a safe place where we can talk about our goals and talk about our shortcomings and talk about things we wanted to do. And you know you're a fan of smarter goals, and so am I. So I was like, let's do this smarter. Let's plan stuff and let's do stuff. So I did that last year, and it was great. And so I wanted to do it again this year, but I wanted to do it, offer it to, females that are going through cancer. And hey, what are we going to do? Let's be smarter. Let's plan. You write the vision down, make it plain. So I wanted to do it actually at a place, but due to COVID, they were like, no, let's refund you your money. And so I want to do it in a Zoom party, a Zoom, and just do smarter goals and say, hey, this is what I want to accomplish this year, because that's another thing. Just because I have cancer doesn't mean I don't want to still live. Doesn't mean I don't, rent is still due. You know, I still dream, and different things like that. So I wanted to have an event where we all come together and support each other and say, hey, this is what we want to do. Let's be specific and measure it and make sure it's attainable and realistic and time it, because it could go on forever. And let's evaluate and reward ourselves for getting it done. So that's what that's going to be. It's just coming together and saying, hey, what do you want to do, and how can I help you do it? Let's plan it. Let's write it down, and that way we can see it and we can get to it. And like I said, for me, I have vision boards behind me. I don't know if you can see them, but I'm a vision board girl, because a lot of times, like I said, if I focus on that, then it doesn't make it so hard to get through, just I have cancer, because I won't know until January if my tumor has shrunk. So I'm still waiting for that. So I just feel like people, we can still live with cancer, and we still have goals, and we still have things we need to do. And just because you're going through this doesn't mean and plus, it'll be fun. Drink some wine, plan, hey, and and we can tell each other, hey, sister, what do I need? What do you need from me to support you? What do you need? And what can I do? Even if it's just encouragement, what can I do to help you get to your goal? What can I do to help it be a little more easier for you? So, you know, and sometimes it's good to know you're not out there by yourself. You're not the only one going through this. So that's
Yeah, and so it's an element of support,
right.
but also self-expression.
Yes, right. Self improvement, self expression, support, all that, because I feel like I said on my flyer, have fun with a purpose. Just don't bring in the New Year's drinking and partying and be like, hey, we made it. Okay, what are we gonna do now? You know what I'm saying? What are we gonna do now? What are we gonna do? How are we gonna help others? How are we gonna help ourselves? What's the plan? How are we gonna help our family? So there's categories that I'll probably address, like finances and education, and and a lot of times, like with cancer, like I said, socially, you don't want to isolate yourself. So just a way to do that. Like I said, you just have a vision and have a direction. And I want to offer, a support group, like maybe bi-weekly, get on Zoom and say, hey, how are you doing? How are you feeling? What can I do for you? Or, if you need to snot nose cry, because I think only people that have gone through this, you may can empathize with me, but only people who have gone through this actual journey, have done chemo, who have done radiation, who have heard the word cancer and the stages, and it's hard to understand unless you've gone through it. You know what I mean? So I know you've seen your mother and you saw what she went through, and you empathize with her, but you didn't go through it. You don't, so especially with something as far as like breast cancer, or, ovarian or vaginal or cervical cancer, as a woman, that does something to your psyche. You know what I mean? Just like I was discussing with you, like, when you guys have to go in and get what is it, the colonoscopy, and they have to do the
Yeah,
little finger thingy. A lot of men are like, and I ain't doing that. Like, like, no, 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 no. If
go through it.
anything,
You got to go through it.
they won't do it. So, and it does something. Some people, it even does something to their psyche when it gets performed. You know what I'm saying? So just imagine that's just a moment. It's over.
Hmm.
But sometimes when you have this inside of you and they tell you the different things that can happen to you, as a woman, you're like, I feel some kind of way that does something to your esteem. You question some things. So I want to be able to offer support, but still, I don't want to be a cancer survivor. I want to be a cancer thriver, and I want people to know that you can still
Hmm.
thrive. You know what I mean? So that's the goal for that. Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean the whole thing of having to actually face it and fight it,
Right. And to
is
know you're not alone doing it.
yeah, you that camaraderie
Right.
is something else, and so you definitely can win
Right.
and at least have that winning feeling when you have that support there, you know.
Right. Right.
And I really, really commend you for you know just facing it. I mean, the multiple times
Thank
of,
you.
hey, I thought we were through with this,
Right. Right.
and then to deal with it again. But I really want to share, you know, with the chemo kids,
Hmm.
right?
Right.
You're just looking for people to support you in the supplies and getting them together,
Right.
and you're working on distribution to hospitals, care centers, and
Right.
the eventuality, like you said, is to get a group going, and this event that you're hosting is to you know kind of foster that
Right.
sense of group identity. And I'll be honest. I'll be honest with you. We need the care. Is one
Okay.
thing, but the support beyond the hospital and from another group, uh,
Exactly.
it makes a difference,
It,
especially to the families. You know,
right. Right.
say that because hey, being an only child, it wasn't like I had some brother or sister call and say, hey, do this everything, and thank God for my mom's close friends that also
Right.
took
Right.
her and shared. I know when we met with the surgeon, um, there was so many of us in there. They had to bring more chairs in and stuff because of it was just a pile of my mom's
Right.
friends and the rest of us.
Right. It helps to know that people are in your corner. And like I said, with COVID, it's a little different because you can't have a room full of people in the
Hmm.
waiting room or anybody in there with you. So for COVID, it's different. So that's another reason why this is very important. Get on Zoom or, get a small group and say, hey, I'm here for you. Because like you said, it helps the family too because they don't understand. Like, thank God for my children, thank God for my mom, thank God for my family and friends. Because it was times where I was just angry and, I lashed out. And some of them didn't, but most for the most part they did. Like, I'm this causes you to be angry. Like I said, the five stages of grief and the depression, the anger. You go through
Hmm.
so many emotions, and they were kind enough and understanding enough to take that from me. But like you said, some people don't have that. And then like you said, there's sometimes I would go to a hotel room after my chemo because I knew that was a state of mind I was going to be in. Like, I'm going to be angry. I don't want lights, I don't want noise, shut the up. You know what I'm saying? I know there's kids listening, so
Yeah.
just get away from me. And I was aware of that. So I went to a hotel room. But like you said, like, what if you just had, divorces are caused by this because you don't understand what I'm going through, and
Hmm.
so. And like I said, my kids, like, I had to tell one of my, like, okay, give me this room to be angry. I'm sorry, I know it's not your fault, but I'm angry and I can't punch, you know who I want to punch, so I'm gonna take it out. I didn't physically hit anybody, but what I'm saying is, me screaming, take that. And when you're in a group of women that understand, they're like, I just told my group that I have on Facebook, Black Women Supporting Cancer, and also, my chocolate and chemo. I just told them, sometimes days I'm good, but some days I want to snot nose cry. Like, I don't even want to do this anymore. Like, like, so, and they understood, like, yeah, I may be dancing 1 minute, and then the next minute, I'm throwing a TV over the patio, and they understand that because they've been through it as well.
Yeah,
I told you.
yeah. When I'm
So
done, I'm done.
right, exactly. So and
And it's difficult, for those around you because you're trying to figure out what you're going through and still having to go through it. And then, you know, for those of us on the sidelines that say, well, what do you need? What do you, what
right,
do
right,
you
right. Or they
Yeah.
want to understand what you're going through. Well, why, or do this, or you want me to do this, or and it's like, no, that's not what I need. Like I said, sometimes, you just need a person. Sometimes you don't even need a person to say anything or ask you anything. Sometimes you just need them to be there and say, you know what, I understand. Like
Mhm.
there's nothing wrong with you. I understand. And so that's what the support group is for. And like you said, so yeah, I just yeah,
All right.
we need that. And and more instead of just dwelling on just cancer, just come out and support each other and say,
Yeah.
hey, we got this. We're gonna get through it. I know
To
you're
take the
going
focus off of the cancer
through. Right,
and support one another.
right,
Yeah.
exactly. Right.
Amen. Amen. Yeah.
Right.
And so, to kind of wrap this up, right? If you could share something with someone else who might be facing a fatal diagnosis right now,
Hmm.
what would you say to encourage or inspire them today?
Wow. That one right there. Um, just like I said, I believe through pain you can find purpose, and to stay optimistic, and to really reach down deep, and find strength, and like I said, focus not on the fatal diagnosis or the cancer, but just focus on what it is trying to teach you, what it is trying to call you to do, because it everything happens for a reason. And I know that's cliche, and I know that, that might sound like, oh, she's on some positive stuff, but trust me, I'm not the positive home, let's all get along girl, you know what I'm saying? But I think that, everything happens for a reason, and just focus on what it's trying to teach you, and reach in to the people who reach into you, and, and allow love to pull you through, and allow your love, to come through as well. That's what I would say. And live your best life, live your best life. Just because you have a fatal diagnosis, that doesn't mean you still can't be healthy and eat well. That doesn't mean you still can't enjoy other people. That doesn't mean you still can't work on your dreams, or find your purpose, or find your cause, or get your education, or whatever it is. Just, live while you're still living. And that's what advice I would have. Definitely.
Amen. Amen. That's stellar. And I have to say, thank you for being vulnerable. Thank you for being
Right.
open.
Thank
You
you for pushing me out on the ledge. I was like, he just took the picture, hijacked it, and put it on there. I was like, we doing this podcast because I'm tired of you talking about you gonna talk.
Yeah.
You got to tell your story one way or the other, huh?
So it's hey, listen, we spend too much time celebrating people after they're gone,
Right. Yeah. Give
and
my
I
flowers
can't
while I'm here.
yeah I can't count how many obituaries or things I've read in the midst of the reading the program in the midst of the funeral service, and so I didn't even know that person did that. I didn't even know
Right.
they enjoyed it, and you and so all of this I think I know, and so like you said, while we're living.
And also, it feels good to get appreciation. It good, I'm not saying like I'm vain, but it feels good for someone to tell you, hey, you're doing a good job. Like, it may not be on a large scale, but you're in there and you're making an impact on these people's life on the level that you can. I appreciate you for doing what you can on the level you can do it. And it feels good, So I appreciate it. I really do.
Yeah, and so here's the GoFundMe, here's the event, the vision board event. Listen, she's just trying to help those that she can, and be an inspiration to somebody and breathe life into somebody else's life, while she can. Um, what more could the rest of us do? Yeah, it's easy to drop, a 5 or 10 onto the GoFundMe, but also dig a little deeper into yourself, your spirit, your soul, and say, what is it that's, what's that pain point that's bothering me that I want to help somebody? You know what I mean? Is it homelessness? Is it food insecurity? What is it? Is it foster youth? Whatever it is, get your heart out there and pour your heart into it. And what'd you say? Do it with love. You said do it with love.
Love. Yes, yes, do it with love. And if
You
you
know,
do it in love, it won't go wrong. You know what I'm saying? No matter how small, no matter what it is, if it's in love, it matters and it'll reach where it needs to reach. Really, it
yeah.
will.
And so listen, y'all. This is y'all have heard me before. Cancer means something to me. It's a trigger for me. It's more than just like a distant buzzword. And so when we have people that are living with this thing that has been labeled as cancer, it's more than just, oh, well, they just go, cut something and give you chemo, and you should be all right. You know,
Right. And a lot of people think that, a lot of people think that.
it's
They
bigger
don't
than
think
that.
how
It's
to
more
work
than
the
that.
next
And
morning.
so I have to, listen. You've heard this woman's story. You've heard her share, not just about what she's endured, but also what others are dealing with, even in the midst of COVID, right? And so, yeah, we were working on a vaccine that's been, distributed, but that's for COVID. There's no cure for what we're talking about right now.
Right.
So, we just want to keep pushing, and thank you for accepting this, and thank you for, putting it out there to others, Black women especially, women of color, you know, um, listen, our health is in our hands, like I've said before. And
Definitely.
when you go in that doctor's office and you choose to go alone, girl, you better pull your phone out your pocketbook or something, and record it or
That's
whatever.
illegal in some states.
You need to, whatever way you need to get
Find
your
a way.
information, right?
Yes.
Make sure you get your information and go back, listen to it, read over your notes, whatever you need to
Right.
do. Um, hey,
Right. First love yourself.
take the doctor's advice under advisement, and
Right.
as a preacher, I said, do like the Bereans do. Go and check that out for validity, like they checked out what Paul said on the scriptures.
Right. If we
Right.
want the Christian route, study to show thyself approved. Right, for sure. So yes. But
So
yes, thank you so much, Bruce. I
that's
appreciate
it.
it. I
No,
appreciate
no, no. It's been a blessing, and like I said, I hope you still have energy for the rest of your day.
I'm taking a nap.
Hey, do what you got to do. Do what you got
Okay.
to do.
Okay,
Yeah.
you have a good one.
All right, y'all. It's been a blessed one. This is Coffee and Chat with Rev Bruce. Peace.